This is Class 2, Lesson 3, Part 2 of the Clinical Operations Management Program. I'm Daniel Hermann O'Moran, and in this video, I will continue my thoughts about what leadership is, and this video will talk about the ethics of leadership. So initially, I was going to combine this video with Part 1 of this lesson, but it got to be too lengthy and I wanted to separate them out. So I am going to talk about leadership from an ethical, societal perspective. I would say most managers have a college education. That means that they are probably smarter than the average bear. They were given that gift. So my question is, what do you do with that gift? You have the gift of intelligence. What do you do with it? You have two choices. You can either hurt people or you can help people. A rhetorical question is, do you know of anyone or have you heard of anyone who has intentionally hurt an animal or neglected an animal? I have. And I'm appalled. I'm appalled that people who have power over animals use that power to hurt animals. And that includes neglect, not feeding them regularly, not taking them to the doctors occasionally, if not regularly, not giving them good food. It's horrible. I can't stand it. There are a couple places I think that corporal punishment is appropriate. One is child abuse, and the other is animal neglect and abuse. So you're the manager. You have power. I had a gift of intelligence. Are you helping people, hurting people, or kind of neglecting people? I think the most common action is the neglect. Once managers are hired, they kind of let their followers just march on. They don't really pay attention to them. That is what I call managerial nonfeasance. I think as a humanitarian, as a manager and a leader and someone who has been given the gift of intelligence, that you have a responsibility to care for your people. First of all, objectively and professionally, help them succeed. Help them succeed in the project and in their career. But bigger than that, help the person with their life. That's not your primary responsibility, but you can help. One of my observations is that people don't know themselves. People think they're intelligent when they're buffoons. People think they're buffoons when actually they have amazing gifts. You have power. Point out to these people what their gifts are. I'll do a separate video on my own struggle with self-learning. It was a very long, difficult learning curve for me. Some people love math. Some people are good at organization and writing. I think that's one of my strong suits. I can't sing at all. I can't sing Happy Birthday without revolting people. So tell people what they're good at and what they need to improve on. If you're a manager, tell people what they've been doing well, encourage them to keep doing it, and tell people what they're weak at and offer ideas on how to make it better. I'm going to go back to scenarios that I mentioned in part 1 of this lesson. A couple project managers basically had almost nothing to do with meetings. They were sort of confused spectators. And a very junior person in the team ran the meeting. That's terrifying. So a good AD would check in these meetings, especially shortly after the person's hired, to see how they do meetings, to see whether they're driving the meeting or are they watching the meeting. You know, you've heard this expression, a deer in the headlights. I had one study that the project manager had not even got into the point of being in the road. She was cowering in the tall grass, wondering what the heck is going on. She was afraid to cross the road. I had another project manager who made some profound errors that resulted in medication errors, and this is a pediatric study. Some AD should have looked at the plan. Actually, the plan was really good. The monitoring of the plan, following up on the plan, was non-existent, and that's where the medication errors happened. A good AD should have looked at the plan and said, by the way, are your monitors doing this? And have you checked this? And are these patients getting a revised dose? A good AD would help with that. This AD let the project manager fail. And I said, part 1 of this lesson, leadership is making sure that your people succeed. Wasn't done. The sponsor audited this study, probably some version of for cause. I think they found out that some subjects were underdosed. So they did an audit, and they had several findings that were alarming. So the project manager had to write a response, a rebuttal, whatever they call it. And unfortunately, the project manager didn't appreciate what the questions were, and the response had very little to do with what the problems were. Anyway, if I were a VP of clinical research, I would have gone to the AD and said, how did you let your person fail? How did you let several underdosing happen? Were you not paying attention? Were you not attending meetings and reading plans to find out whether the plans were being followed? I would go to the AD and say, listen, whatever happens to that project manager, I'm going to do the same thing to you because you let that project manager fail. If that project manager gets fired, I'm going to fire you because you were neglectful. You were asleep on watch. You did not do your supervision job, your leadership job, your manager job. You make all this money. You have this documented intelligence of at least one college degree, and you let your people fail? That's like the owner of a dog who lets his dog starve to death. You can't do it. You cannot do it. If you have a senior role, you have to look out for your people to make sure that A, they do their job, B, they don't fail. That's what it is, management. You've got people under you. You have to pay attention and find out if things are going the way they should be going and not wait for the results of a sponsor audit. Honestly, if I were the VP of ClinOps, I would say to that AD, whatever happens to that project manager, I'm going to do the same thing to you because you are unworthy of that position. Alrighty, so the point of this part 2 of this lesson is you have intelligence. You have the position. Use those two things to help your people and make sure that they don't fail. Make sure that they succeed. That's the point. And if you don't, you are really, you're like an obscenity. You are the worst part of management. People who have power make a ton of money and let their people fail. Horrible, horrible. Send back your diploma and say, sorry, there's been a mistake. I actually didn't learn anything, especially how to be a human being. Go back to HR and give them your job description with your letter of resignation and say, I am not worthy of this position. I let my people fail because I was not paying attention because I didn't care enough to pay attention. That's what you need to do. On the brighter side of things, if you have the diploma, that means that you have at least a minimum level of intelligence. And if you have the position, that means someone thinks that you have enough going for you that you can lead and manage. Do it. Do what your diploma says that you're capable of doing. Do what your job description says that you are responsible for. Do it.